Now, I'd like to remind everyone what the rules of engagement are here. Ask your question briefly. Brittany will introduce you and introduce sort of the subject. To those of you who are on the candidate panel, obviously, these answers are a little shorter, about a minute apiece. Okay? Thank you. Brittany, who do we have?
Thank you. We have Stuart Showalter from Lebanon, Indiana. He has a question concerning families in Indiana.
Thank you, gentlemen. As Executive Director of the Indiana Custodial Rights Advocates, it's my duty to work with state government to ensure that children have access to the care, companionship, and support of both parents. As a federal legislator, what do you see your obligation or duty and that of your colleagues is to ensure that children have access to the care, companionship, and support of both parents?
This question goes to Richard Bainey first.
Well, that's the call here. I feel called, Stuart, to get the federal government out of our homes, out of our families, out of our businesses, out of our bedrooms, out of our doctor examination rooms. I want to get the federal government out of our lives. That's not how it was designed, who we are as a people. I believe that Hoosier families can take care of Hoosier families. And I believe that Hoosiers at a state level can take care of those that are falling through the cracks. And that's where I believe it belongs. I believe that's constitutional. That's the fight that I will fight. No more rhetoric, no more talking about it. Talking about it has gotten us where we are today with this health care legislation that's passed, which is a direct attack on life, thereby also families. We want to get that, any of those kinds of conversations back at the state level.
Nick, Dan Coates.
As Republican leader of the Children, Youth, Family Committee in the Congress, I had the great privilege of hearing from a black pastor in Georgia say, I think, a profound statement. He said, those of you in government don't understand. To heal the ills of our young people and to heal our families, this is not the role of the federal government. This is the role of faith-based institutions, of the church, of the family, of neighbors helping neighbors. Government can provide food and housing and a roof and so forth. It can't touch the heart and it can't touch the soul. That's the work of non-government entities. Yes, intact families, supporting marriage and honoring marriage. Providing organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is, I was privileged to be one now for 40 years, Big Brother, but also to lead that organization nationally after I left the Senate. And providing a mentor for a young child without a father in the house. These are the ways that we address the questions that were asked, not through the federal government.
John Hostetler.
At the risk of sounding like I'm going to say ditto, I believe likewise that there is situations with the federal government that create many of these problems, and so it's my desire that in the interim we at least see programs that create strings or create mandates from the federal government that put these obstacles in place. For example, the welfare system, as it was established for decades, said essentially that the federal government will give a parent money as long as the mother does not marry the father of the child. What a tremendously stupid motivation for families that was created by the federal government with noble intentions, but with a disastrous impact. And so in the interim, before we can remove the programs that have created these problems, we must take a look at every program to make sure that they don't make more.
Thank you, John Hostetler. Marlon Stutzman.
Well, I would say the family is the foundation of our society, and I believe that we need strong families in our communities so that we do have a strong community, a strong government. I believe is then the result of people understanding what the role of government is, rather than the federal government continuing to take more of those responsibilities, whether it's through an inadequate tax structure, whether it's through the welfare system, whether it's through the economy. I think that it is important for the federal government to focus on its constitutional duties and allow the states to take on those challenges that I've worked on here in the state of Indiana, and encouraging the family to stay together and the important role of fathers in their children's lives. And I think that it is better suited for the states to take on those responsibilities. It is not the federal government's. And I think that we as a society have a responsibility to support, and me as an individual, support those around me in encouraging the support of the family.
Thank you, Marlon Stutzman. Don Bates.
First of all, thank you for what you do. You have a big job. We know that the erosion of the family has affected our culture, and so I applaud you for the work that you do. I do believe a lot of this responsibility should rest with the states, but at the same time, I believe as your United States Senator, I have an obligation to understand that the importance of the family requires me to do what I can on a federal level. And let me just tell you one of the things that I will work to do. I had some grandparents come to me on the campaign trail, and they said, you know, we can't see our grandchildren, and our grandchildren want to see us, and they need us. I believe that children need not only the love and care of a mom and dad, but they also need the love and care of grandparents. And I made them a promise that I will work to pass legislation that will allow them to have rights to see their grandchildren.
Thank you, Don.